Welcome to the next lecture. In previous lecture you have learned about the process of the conduction, process of the transduction. You have learned about the auditory pathway and its important features and the processing of the auditory information. So after learning about the physiology of the hearing, now I am going to explain various applied aspects of sense of hearing. Periodic complex sound is music and aperiodic complex sound is noise. There are three types of the noise: white noise, narrowband noise, and speech noise. White noise contains all the frequency in audible spectrum, and narrowband noise it contains some of the frequency filtered out from the white noise. And this narrowband noise it is useful to mask test frequency in pure tone audiometry. Speech noise is the noise with frequency in speech range between 300 to 3000 Hz. Presence of one type of the sound decreases the ability of the ear to hear another type of the sound, and this is known as masking. So it is because of the inability of the auditory mechanism to separate simultaneous stimulation of the separate components. So it is a common experience that in noisy surrounding it is difficult to hear the words of the conversation. It is because of the masking effect of the noisy surrounding. Impairment of hearing is known as hearing loss. Hearing loss is expressed as difference in the hearing threshold of patient with the normal subject, and deafness is little or no hearing at all. Here we can see the classification of hearing loss by WHO. So degree of the hearing loss from 0 to 6 and hearing threshold in the better ear of the patient with the average of the 500, 1000 and 2000 Hz frequency. So not significant or the normal is up to 0 to 25 decibel of the change in the hearing threshold. Mild is change in the hearing threshold from 26 to 40 decibel. Severe is the change in the hearing threshold from 71 to 91 decibel. And the profound is the change in the hearing threshold more than 91 decibel. To understand more clearly, for example, in the patient with the profound hearing loss, the change in the hearing threshold is more than 91 decibel. So he requires increase in the intensity of the sound more than 91 decibel than the person with the normal hearing. Hearing loss is of various types: conductive type of the hearing loss, sensory neural hearing loss, and the mixed type of the hearing loss. Now, first of all, conductive type of the hearing loss. As the name suggests, this is the defect in the conduction of the sound from the external environment up to the internal ear where receptors are situated. So, any defect in the external auditory canal, damage to the tympanic membrane, damage to the middle ear cavity, ear ossicles, or any pathology that affects this conduction of the sound can produce conductive type of the hearing loss. So various causes of the conductive type of the hearing loss, they are presence of the wax lodging of the foreign body in the external auditory canal, it decreases the conduction of the sound; damage to the tympanic membrane which produces perforation of the tympanic membrane in the middle ear; infection which is known as otitis media. So the presence of the fluid in the middle ear cavity, it decreases conduction through the ear ossicle up to the internal ear. Disruption of the ear ossicles as well as the fixation of the foot plate of stapes, which is also known as otosclerosis. It decreases the conduction in the cochlea. Eustachian tube obstruction also decreases the pressure inside the middle ear cavity, which can affect the conduction of the sound from tympanic membrane up to internal ear. So all the causes that affects the conduction of sound from external auditory canal up to internal ear, they all produce conductive type of hearing loss. Characteristic features of conductive type of the hearing loss. Here in this figure we can see the conduction pathways through which sound energy it is transmitted to the internal ear. So there are two pathways. First is the air conduction and second is the bone conduction. Air conduction is the conduction of the sound through the external auditory canal and through three ear ossicles inside the middle ear cavity. Sound is magnified up to 18 times, then it is transmitted to the cochlea. Second is the bone conduction, that is directly conduction of the sound from the bone to the cochlea. Normally, air conduction it is more than bone conduction. Now about the characteristic feature of the patient with the conductive type of the hearing loss. The pathology involves the conduction of the sound in the external auditory canal and in the middle ear cavity. So because of that, air conduction decreases. So in the patient with the conductive type of the hearing loss, air conduction is less, but the bone conduction is normal. So relatively, bone conduction it is more than air conduction in the patient with the conductive type of the hearing loss. Sensory neural type of the hearing loss it occurs because of the damage to the cochlea, organ of Corti, inner hair cell, outer hair cell, and all the lesions involving 8th cranial nerve. Most common causes they are congenital anomalies of cochlea, infections of labyrinth, acoustic trauma or exposure to the loud sounds, various ototoxic drugs like streptomycin, neomycin, furosemide. They can also produce degeneration of inner and outer hair cells, various neoplasm and systemic disorders like diabetes, mellitus and hypertension. They can produce sensory neural type of the hearing loss. Characteristic features of sensory neural hearing loss. Now in the sensory neural hearing loss, the pathology or the abnormality it lies at the level of the cochlea and the above, which includes damage to the hair cells and damage to the vestibulocochlear nerve. So hearing loss is complete, speech discrimination is poor, and hearing loss is usually more than 60 decibel. Because the abnormality it lies at the level of the cochlea and above, because of that bone conduction and air conduction both decreases. Various investigations are useful to diagnose patient with hearing loss and to differentiate between the pathologies involved behind the hearing loss. Now I am going to explain all this investigation one by one. Rinne's test. Rinne's test is useful to compare air conduction and bone conduction of a patient. For this purpose, tuning fork is used. Usually, the tuning fork with a frequency of 256 Hz and 512 Hz they are used. After vibrating the tuning fork, it is placed in front of the ear to measure air conduction of the patient. Then it is placed on the mastoid process of the patient to measure bone conduction. In the normal subject, air conduction it is always more than bone conduction, and this is interpreted as Rinne's test is positive. So Rinne's test is always positive in the normal person. In the person with the conductive type of the hearing loss, bone conduction is more than air conduction because air conduction decreases, and in comparison to air conduction, bone conduction is more, and this is interpreted as Rinne's test is negative. In the patients with sensory neural type of the hearing loss, because the defect lies at the level of the cochlea and above, both air conduction and bone conduction decreases. Weber's test. Weber's test is particularly useful for the bone conduction. After vibrating the tuning fork, it is placed to midline forehead, then conduction to the ear it is observed. So normally conduction to the both ear is present through the bone. But in the patient with the conductive type of the hearing loss, towards the affected ear, conduction is more than the opposite ear. And in the sensory neural type of the hearing loss, lateralization to the normal ear is present because of the pathology of the opposite ear. Both the air conduction and bone conduction decreases. Squeback's test. It compares patient's hearing sensitivity with examiner. First of all, the tuning fork is set into vibration. The stem is placed on the mastoid process of the patient and then on the mastoid process of the examiner. Patient should indicate whether the tone is heard or not. When patient no longer hears tone, examiner immediately places the stem behind his own ear. He compares the bone conduction of the patient with the bone conduction of his own. In the patients with a conductive type of the deafness, the bone conduction is more in the patient in comparison to the examiner because of the absence of the masking effect in the patient. And in the normal person, bone conduction of the patient is similar with the bone conduction of the examiner. Tuning fork tests and their interpretation. So in the normal person, air conduction is more than bone conduction and it is known as Rinne's positive test. In the Weber's test, there is no lateralization and both the ear they perceive sound simultaneously. And in the Squeback test, bone conduction of the patient as well as the bone conduction of the examiner they are equal. Now in the patient with the conductive type of the hearing loss, bone conduction is more than air conduction. So Rinne's test is negative and in the Weber's test, lateralization of the sound towards the affected ear because of the more conduction on the affected side. In the Squeback test, better conduction is present in the patient because of the absence of the masking of the environmental sound due to pathology of the external auditory canal or pathology of the middle ear. So masking is not present, so bone conduction is more in the patient. In the sensory neural type of the hearing loss, air conduction is more than bone conduction in the partial deafness because the damage lies at the level of the cochlea as well as in the vestibulocochlear nerve. So both air conduction as well as the bone conduction both decreases, but air conduction is more than bone conduction in the partial deafness. And in the Weber's test, lateralized sound towards the healthy ear because in the affected ear there is decrease in the both air conduction as well as the bone conduction, so there is lateralization of the sound toward the healthy ear occurs. In the Squeback test, better conduction is present in the examiner because in the patient both air conduction as well as the bone conduction decreases. Measurement of the auditory acuity using audiometer is known as audiometry. Audiometer contains electronic oscillator which can generate pure tones. Intensity dial, it can adjust threshold of intensity. Headphone delivers pure tone of the various frequency to each ear separately. It is usually performed in the soundproof room. Mechanical vibrator is used to measure bone conduction. Air conduction and bone conduction, they are measured for various frequencies. In the normal person, air conduction and bone conduction, they are both at the 0 decibel and there is no airborne gap is present. Now look at this audiogram. Here we can see the recording of the frequency as well as the recording of the intensity and recording of the air conduction and bone conduction of the patient. Now this audiogram shows decrease in the air conduction and bone conduction both at the higher frequencies. So this is the example of the sensory neural type of the hearing loss. And this type of the hearing loss, particularly to the high frequency, occurs in the old age people, and this is known as presbyacosis. The cause of the presbyacosis is age-related degeneration of inner hair cell and degeneration of neurons. Hearing loss to the low frequency occurs most commonly on the exposure to the low frequency loud sounds for a longer duration of the time, and hearing loss to all frequency occurs due to ototoxicity of various drugs like streptomycin, gentamicin, kanamycin and chloramphenicol. Now this is the audiogram of the patient with the middle ear sclerosis. Here we can see the recording of the air conduction as well as the bone conduction. Bone conduction of the patient is normal, but the air conduction of the patient is significantly decreased, and the gap between the bone conduction and air conduction is present. This is known as AB gap. So in this patient, bone conduction is more than air conduction. So this is the conductive type of the hearing loss. Otosclerosis is caused by fibrosis in the middle ear after repeated infection, or fibrosis that occur in the hereditary disease called otosclerosis. In this type of the person, bone conduction is essentially normal and conduction through the ossicular system is greatly depressed. Brainstem auditory evoke responses. These are the evoke potential recorded from the surface of the scalp on response to the auditory stimuli. So first of all, auditory stimuli is given and electrical potential at the surface of the scalp they are recorded. This is useful for the assessment of the hearing loss in infants and in small children, and to localize brainstem lesion and diagnosing tumor at various points of auditory pathway. Here we can see the record of brainstem auditory evoke responses. So typical record, it shows total 7 waves and they represent activity at the different points in the auditory pathway. So after the auditory stimulation, when the sound wave passes through the different portions of the auditory pathway, it produces different electrical activity. Wave 1 and wave 2, they represent the activity at the level of the auditory nerve. Wave 3, it represents electrical activity at the level of the cochlear nucleus. Wave 4, it represents activity at the level of the superior olivary complex. Wave 5, at the level of the lateral lemniscus. Wave 6 and Wave 7, they represent electrical activity at the level of the inferior colliculus. So this is the normal recording of the brainstem auditory evoke responses, and any alteration in the electrical activity, it shows damage at the different point of the auditory pathway and in the brainstem. Management of patient with hearing loss. It depends on type of the hearing loss and pathology involved behind the hearing loss. Here I am not going to explain detail about the management of the hearing loss, but I am just going to give you brief information on hearing aids and cochlear implant. Hearing aids. A hearing aid is a device to amplify sound reaching the ear. Essentially, it consists of three parts: microphone, amplifier, and receiver. Microphone receives sound waves, amplifier amplifies the sound energy, and receiver, it transmits these sound waves up to the cochlea. So the hearing aid, it receives sound waves, amplifies sound waves, and transmit these sound waves up to the cochlea. Various type of the hearing devices they are available, like bone conduction hearing device, air conduction hearing device. So this type of the hearing aids, they can be prescribed depending on the need of the patient and pathology involved behind the hearing loss. In the patients with the damage to the cochlea and damage to the inner hair cells, hearing aids, they are of not much help. In this type of the patient with severe to profound hearing loss, cochlear implants, they are useful. Here we can see the cochlear implant with its external component and the internal components. External component act as a speech processor and transmit the sound waves to the internal component. Internal component converts this sound energy into the electrical signals, and then it produces stimulation of the array of electrodes which are situated inside the cochlea. This array of electrodes they produces stimulation of the afferents of the cochlear nerve, which is perceived as sound in our brain.